Community Hotline is made possible with generous support by Gresham Ford, the dealer with a heart. The Contribute to the Community program provides the opportunity for the Gresham Ford team to make a positive impact, serving their customers and helping people across the community. The Outlook, serving the residents of East Multnomah County for more than 100 years. The region's #1 source for information, The Outlook provides readers with intensely local coverage of the issues and people that impact our lives and community. The Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission, advocating on behalf of the public interest on communications policy issues at the local, state, and federal levels.
And by Stamp Connection and BeFit Gyms. A very special thanks to all the sponsors who help make our programming possible.
Hi, I'm Monica Weitzel, the host of Community Hotline. Every week we share important information about nonprofits, schools, and government agencies who work hard to help improve the quality of our lives. Tonight's first guest is Multnomah County Commissioner Lori Stegman. We're going to talk about how our winter weather affects those without homes. She's going to show us how we can all make simple warming kits to distribute to those in need. Next, we'll talk with friends of Nadaka. Nadaka Nature Park in East Multnomah County has a couple of terrific community events coming up, and you are invited to get involved. And finally, we'll talk with the Freshwater Trust. You'll be impressed with the scope of work of this organization to preserve and protect our freshwater ecosystems. We have so much good stuff to share with you tonight. Please stick around. It's all coming up next on Community Hotline. To Community Hotline. My name is Monica Weitzel. We're here in Gresham at MetroEast Community Media. Tonight we have a full show. It's going to be a good one, and I'm very delighted to welcome back for our first segment Multnomah County Commissioner Lori Stegman. Thanks for being here, Lori.
Thank you for having me, Monica. It's great to see you.
Yeah, I'm so glad you were here. You know, last time you were here, you talked about people in the Portland area and the Multnomah County who are out in the elements who don't have a home to live in.
Absolutely.
And you were visiting shelters at that time.
Yes, yeah. This past summer I had the opportunity to visit. At that time we had 19 emergency shelters, and I felt it was absolutely critical for me as a policymaker and as just a human being and somebody who lives in this world who sees the inequities and the problems that people are facing, and that have nowhere to live. They don't have the resources. So I really wanted to see what our system looked like, and I wanted to talk to the people that were living on the streets and in our parks to find out what kinds of services the county should be providing and what are we already providing. And so it was really amazing for me to just travel around and see all the different shelters that we offer.
I bet it was an eye-opening experience.
It really was, yeah.
You said at that time 19. Do we have more
now?
Yes,
we've recently added an emergency winter shelter called Walnut Park, and that's over off of Martin Luther King. Because obviously with the inclement weather, the rain, the cold, it's even more imperative that people get indoors.
Right. So what are some of the things that the county is doing?
So what we're we really want to do is make sure that people have a safe place to go at night, and it's just so important, this basic needs that they be met. So some of the things that I've really tried to do is not only figure out from a policy making level about how to serve our houseless population, but also trying to figure out kind of from a humanitarian standpoint about what individuals, what companies or churches might also do. So we're going to talk a little bit about how people can volunteer and help.
Which is great, because people do want to help, they want to get
Yes.
involved. People don't always have a lot of money to give.
They don't.
And people aren't sure if that's the best way to handle it either.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so I'm
Yep.
excited about that.
Absolutely.
You brought a few pictures, and I
did.
don't want to forget to look at those. Maybe we can look at them, and you can tell us some of the other, some of the things that you've been doing.
Yeah.
So maybe we can bring those up.
Yeah, absolutely. So so some of the things that we've done is if you want to help and you don't know what to do, there are so many service providers that just need volunteers. So my team and I went and volunteered, and we served lunch at the Blanchet House, which is downtown Portland.
Right.
And I got to tell you, it was the most fun thing
Really?
I have done. And there's studies that have proven that when you give, there's actually hormones that are created in your body,
Like
that
endorphins or something like that, yeah.
you get this sense of well-being. And so I always, sometimes I volunteer, and I always get so much more out of it than
Always
what.
do when you volunteer. People don't realize that, I think, until they do it, and then they go, wow, this is so great.
Yeah, so it was just a great experience. You can serve breakfast, you can serve lunch, you can serve dinner. We also went out to we have a shelter for survivors of domestic violence. We went out and hosted a dinner there and served to the ladies there.
Was this,
where
this
was at the Blanchet House, yes.
Okay, and was it lunch you served?
Yeah, lunch, yes. And boy, I'm telling you, these folks, they've got this system down.
Really, it's
And,
very well organized.
Oh
and,
yeah, and the quality of the food is amazing. And I mean, I think we served like close to 300 meals in an hour. So
Wow.
it was really, really fun. And so this is at our domestic violence shelter. And so we brought in some excellent Mexican food from the Rockwood area.
That looks pretty good.
And served it up. And that was just really fun. And I'll tell you, the ladies were so grateful and so appreciative. And then here, later on, we're going to talk about warming kits. We hosted an event for our employees at one of our buildings, and we just sent out a call and said, hey, if you'd like to come and help build warming kits, please do so. So that's just us setting up and with some of the different ingredients that we're going to be using tonight as well.
And that's what they look like when they're all put together.
So we created about 250, 300 of those, and so employees were able to take some with them and hand them out if they chose to.
Okay, and that's them working on them there.
Yeah, kind of the assembly line, and then so there's our multitude of boxes of warming kits, and so it's just really great. So some took them back to their offices. Some we also took a bunch to our different nonprofits as well.
Okay.
And then this was a sock drive that I did to benefit the Blanchet House, because I asked them, what is it that you need most? And socks are
That's
just
why I
like
hear people go through socks,
the
especially if you're outside.
one.
Feet are cold, you're miserable.
Absolutely.
And wet.
Absolutely.
And wet. Yeah.
So that was really, really fun. And I think that, it's just so important. I go to the dollar store, or, you can go onto Amazon or Costco, and I can buy like hats and mittens for like $1 a piece. And usually when I do these warming kits, I like to have them in the back seat of my car. And then that way when I'm driving down the street, sometimes people are concerned about what should I do? What's appropriate? Should I give money? Should I not give money? And with a warming kit, I always feel like those are really needed items that people can use, and I feel good. And usually, what I'll do is I'll maybe put $1 or $2 so that if somebody wants to get a cup of coffee, they can get warmed up or something like that.
Well, we brought things to put together warming kits, and I want us to do that and show people how easy it is to do that. So why don't we just take a short little break here and come back and show our viewers how to do that.
Excellent.
Okay, great.
Let's
We'll be right back in just a moment.
Hotline has been devoted to supporting the work of local nonprofits for over 20 years. With 40-plus shows a year, featuring more than 100 nonprofit guests, MetroEast is the go-to place to find out about the great work of nonprofits like ours. Tune in every Wednesday at 7 to see the show.
It is so important for me to have the right to be able to speak what I want to speak and talk about what I want to talk about.
If you start shutting this person up and shutting that person up and shutting this person up, that's not America.
The future is accessible. Everything we do today paves the way for tomorrow.
Como medios comunitarios, tenemos una parte importante en una cultura que está constantemente cambiando.
И нам нужно спросить себя, будет ли сообщение средств массовой информации в будущем одновременными и одноменными?
How do we share our collective resources within and between our communities?
Làm thế nào chúng ta có thể sử dụng công nghệ truyền thông chúng ta muốn làm cho tương lai của chúng ta tốt đẹp hơn?
Izazov za nas je da napravimo budućnost dostupnu za sve.
To start the conversation, join us at MetroEast Community Media.
Community television is what participatory democracy is about.
Like my friend Laird Ross says, it's the last great American soapbox.
It gives me a voice.
I'm glad it's available.
It's incredibly important to protect a place where all users of locally based nonprofit media have a place to speak and share their stories.
I feel like everybody loves music. And for kids like us in Rockwood to have something like this, like the tools that you guys provide for us, I feel like it's really important because we can get our, our story out. We can tell about what we're going through in these streets and stuff.
Well, here we are back in the studio, and we are going to be making some warming kits.
We are.
I'm delighted, and we have a helper here.
We do. We have Harper here because I want everyone to know how simple and easy it is to put these warming kits. And Harper is pretty experienced at doing this.
Great.
You've done this before, right, Harper? Is it pretty easy? All right.
So what's the first thing that we need to pick?
Yes.
So this is Harper says it's the plastic bag.
The plastic bag. So I like to use these size bags because you don't want something that's too small and you don't want something that's too large.
This is a quart size?
Yeah, this is a quart size. These are easy just to throw a couple in the back seat or put a couple in your duffel bag or even some in your purse. Not too big, not too small.
I like these kind of that zip too because they don't come apart. Sometimes ones that you have to press, they don't stay closed.
And that's a really good point because some people, your dexterity, some people have issues with dexterity.
Some
and
of
these
us
are
do.
Easy to use.
Okay.
Yes. And so the first thing that we want to put in is
Band-Aids.
Because everybody needs a Band-Aid. We get those nicks and scrapes, and when you need a Band-Aid, there's really nothing else that can replace a Band-Aid.
Yes,
so,
that's right.
So if you take a Band-Aid and put that in your bag,
okay.
And then I like these hot hands, these hand warmers.
Okay.
Yeah, and these are great because many of us use them when we go to a football game or something like that. Camping.
Hunters use them all the time.
Hunters use them. Yeah.
Can you put them in your boots too?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and they also make foot warmers. So I can.
I'm sure if you were out there in the cold, you'd use them.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So you can purchase these online. You can also get them at some of the big box stores and things like that. Now the next thing that we did is we always need socks. So usually we roll those up. Harper shows how to roll those up and put those inside the bag. And
that's the thing, when your feet are cold,
yes,
you are miserable. And if they're wet, so people need a lot of socks, right? You were saying that earlier,
yes.
that people, they really go through socks.
Right, if your socks are wet and you don't have another pair of socks, you're kind of out of luck.
Well, and it's really tough, especially if it's somebody that is maybe diabetic and they have foot problems, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and circulation is a huge, huge issue, or lack thereof.
Okay, so I can slip those in there too.
Slip those in the bag.
Okay.
Then the next thing we have is some Gold Bond powder. And this is just really good, again, if you're out in the weather and your feet get wet and you need some kind of a drying agent, Gold Bond is really great. And these are really nice because they're just a small trial size. So these work perfectly.
So they fit in the bag.
Fit in the bag, really easy to work with. And then the other thing is chapstick. I don't know about you, but in the wintertime, especially out here in East County, the wind and the cold, my hands and my skin and my lips just get dry. So
the wind is,
it's
awful.
always good. So we've got
what flavor
some.
did you get? Did you get the cherry also?
Cherry.
Yeah, okay.
Cherry. Excellent.
Okay.
All right.
Put that in there. What else we have
And
here?
then we have these hand sanitizer wipes. And these are just handy for anything, to keep your hands clean. They don't take up any space. And it's just, sometimes you just need to have access to, wiping, keeping clean.
Use it before you put on the Band-Aid.
Exactly. There you go.
Let's not get any infections out there.
No. And then, of course, tissues. Everybody needs tissues. I always have a pack in my purse, and so it's just really important to have tissues, and they're handy. Again, there's the smaller sizes, so those are great to have, and they fit nicely.
You can buy a case of those, for really inexpensive.
Absolutely. I always like to go to my local dollar store, too. Those are really great, great packages that you can buy there. And then something that you may not have thought of is we talked to many of our service providers, and they told us that instant coffee was something that people out, living outdoors really, really like and appreciate.
They're not going to always have access to electricity, nor are they going to want to carry around a coffee maker. So
exactly.
That makes sense. So these are great.
These are great.
These are individual.
Yep, just individually wrapped packages.
Yeah, that's good.
So I think that's everything that we got through. So that's what it looks like.
It's in there very nicely. So I was thinking that this would be a great project for schools, office groups as a team building exercise.
Absolutely.
Maybe fraternal organizations, any kind of service group that wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely. We did something similar. At the Gresham Elks Club, and we just had this huge assembly line, and it was great. And in just a matter of maybe an hour, we had created hundreds of these, and so it's just really fun to do, and makes you feel
kids
good.
Can do it. How old are you?
How old are you, Harper? Third grader.
Yes. Third grade. So third grade. So if a third grader can put these together and look at hers.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. And of course, these are winter kits. And, depending on the time of the season, in the summertime, you might want to think about sunscreen. You can also put food products. We didn't include any food products, but you can also do that.
There's room. I could have gotten a few more things in here.
Yes.
Maybe a few more, coffee packets or some, I don't know, some gum, some hard candy.
Yeah,
or
we
maybe
tried,
a protein bar, or granola bar, something like that.
We tried to put soft foods because sometimes people have dental issues. And that was something that I had learned that I hadn't thought about.
So if it is, say, summertime, how about bottled water? Can it may not fit in here, but maybe here's a bag and here's a bottle of water.
Yes.
Somebody told me that it's a good idea to freeze bottles of water ahead of time because then when you give it to them, it's going to stay cold for a while.
Absolutely. That's
Plus, if it's really hot, you just put it on the back.
That's a great idea. The other thing too is T-shirts. If sometimes people have supplies of T-shirts that they've had printed and maybe they don't need them anymore.
I have a ton of them.
Yeah, but it's just like socks, T-shirts, anything like that, gloves, hats, mittens, any of those things.
So what do you do with them after we're done?
Right,
so you said you put them sometimes in your car. So like I know when you go on ramp or off ramp, sometimes there's somebody there. So you could just hand them to them?
Yeah, hand them out. But we also delivered them to our service providers.
Okay.
There's groups that like Join and different different, and our actual emergency shelters can
Okay.
use them as well.
So you could drop them off there if you want to, or if you had a big group of
So
you that did
just
them.
call 211, and
Okay.
that is our information referral center, and they can handle a multitude of questions
Okay.
that you might, like if you want to know where to volunteer, if there's someplace close in Gresham that you'd like to volunteer, they'll tell you where to go.
Okay. You know, and I think we're just about out of time, but you could also throw in like a gift certificate to like a little fast food place or something like
Absolutely.
that, just or whatever. You know,
Yeah,
'cause
whatever.
Something didn't take up any space.
Absolutely.
Okay, we are out of time. Thank
All
you
right.
both. Thank you, Harper. Thank you, Lori, for showing us
Yes.
how to make these warming kits. And I think everybody should go out there and put together a few for your community.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you,
Thanks
Monica.
very much. We'll be back in just a moment with more of Community Hotline. That's great.
Community Hotline is made possible with generous support by Gresham Ford, the dealer with a heart. The Contribute to the Community program provides the opportunity for the Gresham Ford team to make a positive impact, serving their customers and helping people across the community. The Outlook, serving the residents of East Multnomah County for more than 100 years. The region's #1 source for information, The Outlook provides readers with intensely local coverage of the issues and people that impact our lives and community. The Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission, advocating on behalf of the public interest on communications policy issues at the local, state, and federal levels.
And by Stamp Connection and BeFit Gyms. A very special thanks to all the sponsors who help make our programming possible.
I always laugh, but I can retake those. I can't do that.
Tune into Community Hotline Wednesdays at 7 p.m. and you'll find out about local organizations making a positive difference in your world.
Community media is priceless.
Valuable. Community media lets you tell your story to fit your needs.
My favorite thing about community media is it's got to be the people's shows.
I think my favorite one is Karaoke Oli.
Oh, Karaoke Oli's
Yes.
a good one.
We sing live karaoke on TV for an hour.
Hamster versus monster.
Nap time with kittens.
Community media brings programming like Chambers of Commerce, the faith community.
Psycho Chicken.
Do you have any UFO shows?
No, I wish we did.
I would like one of those too.
Yeah.
Children's programs, high school sporting events, and of course, the ubiquitous city council meetings.
Only when we hear from folks in their own voices with their own stories can we truly connect.
We use video games to inspire young people about their future and use the games that they love to play as a catalyst for interest in activities that we believe they should be spending their time on anyway. The education system misses when they start with, we want you to do X, Y, and Z, instead of starting with, what are your interests, what are your desires, and can we do that together? And for many of those kids, well, that's video games. That's a platform for success in youth development, no matter what sphere we're talking about. In this case, we're talking about technical education.
Welcome back to Community Hotline. I'm Monica Weitzel. We're here in Gresham at MetroEast Community Media, and now we're going to be talking with two organizations that are active in the community. You've probably heard of both of them. One is Nadaka Nature Park. Here to represent, I have another Monica McAllister, who's the coordinator at the park. Good to have you here again.
Good to see you, Monica.
Thank you. And Hannah Dornhofer, you are with Friends of Trees.
Yes.
And you are the, let me see here, I don't remember now. You are the green space specialist.
Yes.
What exactly is a green space specialist?
It means I specialize in green spaces.
Oh, wow, of course. Let me get a smart aleck
here.
here.
That. Well, so at Friends of Trees, we have two main programs we do. We do programming in neighborhoods, where we plant trees primarily along the street.
Yes.
And then we also work in natural areas and green spaces throughout the metro area. And so that's where I focus. So we work in parks like Nadaka, or Forest Park, or other parks you might know around the region.
So I don't know if I knew that you did that. Is that part of it? Has it always been part of Friends of Trees to do that, the green space?
Green space has not always been around.
Okay.
So we've been around for 30 years total, Friends of Trees has.
That's a long time.
Green space started more around 15, 20 years ago.
It's still been a long time, yeah.
More recent, but important part.
And tell us about Nadaka. Just give me an overview of Nadaka Nature Park.
Yes. So Nadaka Nature Park is located in the Rockwood Wilkes East neighborhoods, and it's 10 acres of forest and then 2 acres with a community garden, nature-based play area, and picnic shelter. And so we do all kinds of different programming, from garden workshops to bird walks with Audubon Society of Portland, doing restoration events with various organizations like Friends of Trees and Solve. And then Columbia Sioux Watershed Council is our fiscal agent, and they help out with a lot of cool events as well.
Oh, cool.
And St. Eden's Episcopal Church too. So a lot of great community partners.
Right.
We do internship programs, our ambassador program, kids programming, working with schools.
And it's a wonderful park. It's a great addition to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
It really is. So I love it that you are partnering and have done so before, correct?
Yes.
On other projects, and you have some coming up. You brought some pictures, right, Monica?
Yes.
Maybe we could take a look at those and see, some of the things that you've been doing. The thing that you have coming up is MLK Day of Service. That's one of them. Yeah. So that'll be what is going to happen at that event. Wait, let's see what we got here first. So this is at the park, right?
Yes.
So what's going on here?
So this is during one of our planting events as well. And so we have a couple of different community members, I can see Carol in there, learning how to plant in our rain garden. So doing a demonstration there. So we'll do like a big group demonstration typically for some of our smaller events, and then we'll split off into the forest. We have a backyard habitat demonstration garden that we do. So we'll plant in there. We'll also plant in the 10 acres of forest. That's Zulma. She's super awesome, one of our Nadaka ambassadors. And she's a team leader that leads some of the volunteers in doing some of the planting and restoration, such as removing invasive species like ivy.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you remove the invasive species, then you replant with native plants?
Yes.
Okay.
So these programs, these type of events are also a really good learning opportunity.
Right, very educational, I'm sure.
Yes, for everybody. So learning about what the difference is between invasive species that are plant species and native species, and why we want to do that.
Right.
But also it gives them really good opportunities to learn skill sets about how to do that, so they can either do it at home. For youth, it's a great way to have ownership of a green space that they go to in a different capacity, as well as just gaining some skills, and maybe it might be a career for them in the future.
Yeah, there you go. And then this big group, this is on the play structure there.
Yes.
Which is a really fun play structure.
It's a fun place,
yeah.
for sure. But yeah, it definitely, a lot of Nadaka events in particular are family friendly.
Yeah.
So, and then we work with different school groups. Like this picture is from a No Ivy Day event where we worked with College Possible to do some planting, invasive species removal, and some garden work as well. Yeah,
get some good volunteers from all these different organizations you work with in schools and such. I think that's great.
Yeah.
And you need them to keep the park going, right?
Yes, and so Nadaka is really successful because of the community just really has taken ownership and loves the park and is really committed to seeing it continue to flourish and just, build community and friendships there as well. And then our community partners, such as Friends of Trees, having them come in and work with us, and they bring a new perspective and really awesome skill sets and just amazing leadership as well. So, I mean, really, for Nadaka, it's about partnerships and community.
And you have great partners. So I remember going with Friends of Trees and planting trees in my neighborhood when my daughter wanted some trees at her house, and she got a couple of trees, and so then we went and planted at all these other people's houses. It was so fun. It was really great. And then when I moved to the house I'm in now, I wanted to meet some of my neighbors, and I saw something online about Friends of Trees was doing a walking tour of the neighborhood, and they were just going to show you different things. I thought, oh, perfect. So I went and met a bunch of my neighbors, and we walked, and I found out about a lot of the trees in the neighborhood, and it was really fascinating, really fun. That's not something you do, though, but that's a big part of Friends of Trees, right?
Yes, I will occasionally attend those events
Do you?
because I think they're fun.
They are fun, yeah. So tell me a little bit about how you partner with Nadaka, and then what you'll be doing on this Martin Luther King Day of Service.
So in the past, we partnered with Nadaka to plant mostly large stock trees along the street, but also further back in the main 2 acres of the park that are developed. This season, we're partnering to also plant native shrubs and wildflowers in the understory, primarily for pollinators and wildlife habitat and
so you don't
food
do
source.
just trees?
No, not just trees. Trees and shrubs is our
shrubs,
phrase, but really it's beyond shrubs. It's also wildflowers and other herbaceous annual plants.
Great, great. So how many people will be involved in this whole day of service? How many did you have last time?
We're
exciting
expecting
right
over 100 people.
Wow!
To show up.
Wow, that's great.
It's pretty exciting.
And it's pretty much all ages. I mean,
all ages.
If you're 2 or 3 years old, better bring your parent. But
well, we do have there's a couple of kids that can do the tool safety talk pretty well now.
Really?
Yeah.
And so we always welcome families of all ages. We sometimes have parents walking around with infants strapped to their bellies, which is
really
always
good,
fun.
It's a good family thing to do.
Yes, it is. And we have tiny shovels for kids.
Oh, that's great.
They're pretty fun.
Really
and
good.
tiny gloves.
I know.
I love it. I can tell you like that. It's fun.
I do. And I have really small hands, so I
wear the kids' gloves, right?
It all works out. Yeah.
You have another event coming up after that. What's the next one?
February 9th.
Yes.
Okay,
it's a Saturday.
It's the same thing.
It's pretty similar. So the Nadaka Community Planting Event with Friends of Trees, in the past it's been, I think this might be my third or maybe my 4th community planting event we've done. I think it's my 3rd. So yeah, it's an annual event that we do at Nadaka Nature Park, really focused on bringing community together, focusing specifically on planting. Typically for a lot of Nadaka restoration events, it's there's a lot of different things in Nadaka, so we'll do some garden work, we'll do some forest restoration, like removing invasive species, mulching, weeding the front 2 acres and the backyard habitat area. And but these 2 events are really, because we're partnering with Friends of Trees, are more focused on planting at Nadaka. We've been really successful at removing a lot of invasive species with different school groups and community members, like HB Lee Middle School Sun Program and Centennial Park High School. They come every week on Wednesday.
Every week?
Every week on
That's
Wednesdays during the school sessions, and they do a really great job.
There today?
Not in the winter term. It's a little too cold. Okay. And they're just getting off the winter break. So we give them a little bit of a break. But yeah, during the fall and the spring, and then sometimes during the summer, we'll do a restoration component to it, and then education, and then St. Aidan's does snacks. So we're able to continue doing that. But we removed a lot of invasive species from the understory, and we don't want other invasive species to come back in.
Right.
So
So it's really key, and I'll let you.
Is key. Yeah. If you remove the invasives but don't do anything, they'll come back even worse.
So are there particular plants that you'll plant that will help prevent the invasive species from coming back? Is that how that works?
Our best strategy is diversity, to plant as many different species as possible, and that helps the watershed become healthier too, because when water filters into soil, the roots clean it before it runs into the rivers and streams. So if there are different root lengths and shapes, it's much healthier water. So
See, and
that's how
those
we
are the
fight
kind of
them
things
off.
that everybody should know. I don't know, but everybody should know that. And so, like when people are planting in their own homes, you know, I know like the backyard habitat program. I know they work a lot with bringing, you know, people, getting them to plant native species and getting out the invasive species and educating them as to why that's important.
Yes.
And so it's not just out in the parks and it's not just in the green spaces, but it's in people's own backyards as well, right?
And that's really cool too, because it helps with habitat connectivity of local green spaces, because you can have a green space that's surrounded by a lot of urban infrastructure, and you have a really beautiful nature area for like habitat. But if those animals can't cross through to the next area, that can be a problem. And so having that green space and doing street trees is another way to do that. In addition to just, it's really important for our communities to have these green spaces, and for like, you know, having trees in our neighborhood reduces heat islands in communities and has a lot of other benefits.
There's so much interconnectedness, isn't there?
Truly, that is ecology.
So I know you have kids from the schools come to you. Do you, either of you, ever go to the schools and work with the schools, or do your organizations do that?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We have various partnerships with different schools all around. We have sort of a youth job training program with Rosemary Anderson High School. We also work with students at David Douglas. We do annual summer field trips out at Tualatin River Farm. Just today I was planting with 5th grade students up at Powell Butte. So they often come to us at the planting site, and then sometimes we go into their classroom. We have something with Oregon Trail Elementary out in Happy Valley, where we visit them in the classroom, teach them what I was telling you about roots filtering the soil. Then they go out and plant, and we ask them, why are we planting this? Do you remember? And then we go do a monitoring activity with them where we check survival rates.
Can't you just see the kids going home and explaining this to their parents
Yes.
and telling them what they should and shouldn't be doing, which is great.
Oh, it
You
totally
know,
happens.
I'm sure.
And then
I'm sure
they show
it
up
does
at our
all the time.
volunteer events, and we go home with really full hearts.
I bet. So we're almost out of time. What else do we need to know about your partnership or about either of your organizations?
Our events will be bilingual, Spanish,
good.
English.
Wonderful.
So we welcome, of course we welcome anyone from the community, but we will particularly be able to support Spanish speakers at these two events.
Great. And we have
which
a
we're really
large
excited
Spanish-speaking community out here, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So bilingual. Also, when people go to Nadaka, they should be sure to check out the community garden. I'm sure it's pretty fallow at this time of year, but that's a very large and successful community garden.
It
isn't
is. And so Outgrowing Hunger is contracted with the City of Gresham to help with the registration and maintenance of the community garden in general. So the ambassador program and the internships that we run through Nadaka Nature Park with Rosemary Anderson POIC program, Eastside Nature Crew, Summer Works, and Talon occasionally from Audubon Society of Portland. They also help with education garden plots that we have there, specifically for those school groups and internships.
Wonderful.
So it's an opportunity, especially during the summer months when things are growing. It's like a jungle in there.
Yes.
It's pretty
I've
exciting.
been there and checked it out, yeah.
But yeah, it would be like a great way to like come in, get an introduction to what's going on, how it works.
Great. Good.
It's a really great opportunity.
We are out of time, so I hope that people do come out and get involved in either of those days, and then see what the opportunities are for, you know, to keep getting involved and bring their family and start planning.
Yes, it'll be exciting.
Thanks so much.
Yeah,
Thanks
you.
for watching this segment of Community Hotline. Be sure to check out Friends of Trees or Nadaka Nature Park, and don't go away. We'll be right back with more.
Community Hotline is made possible with generous support by Gresham Ford, the dealer with a heart. The Contribute to the Community program provides the opportunity for the Gresham Ford team to make a positive impact, serving their customers and helping people across the community. The Outlook, serving the residents of East Multnomah County for more than 100 years. The region's #1 source for information, the Outlook provides readers with intensely local coverage of the issues and people that impact our lives and community. The Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission, advocating on behalf of the public interest on communications policy issues at the local, state, and federal levels.
And by Stamp Connection and BeFit Gyms. A very special thanks to all the sponsors who help make our programming possible.
It is so important for me to have the right be able to speak what I want to speak and talk about what I want to talk about.
If you start shutting this person up and shutting that person up and shutting this person up, that's not America.
Community television is what participatory democracy is about.
Like my friend Laird Ross says, it's the last great American soapbox.
It gives me a voice.
And I'm glad it's available.
It's incredibly important to protect a place where all users of locally based nonprofit media have a place to speak and share their stories.
Hi, and welcome back to Community Hotline. I'm Monica Weitzel. We're here in Gresham at MetroEast Community Media. And now I have a guest I've never had on the show, and I'm very happy to bring you the Freshwater Trust. And representing the Freshwater Trust is Alex Johnson. You are the fund director. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, I'm really happy to have you here. Yeah. So the Freshwater Trust does a whole lot of things, I found out when I went on your website.
It's true.
Yeah, I was very impressed. Can you give our viewers just sort of an overview of what you do?
Sure, of course.
And maybe a little history, maybe how long you've been around?
Would love to.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a tough elevator speech because we do a lot of things in different places. You just need a very long elevator. But we were actually originated in 1983 on the banks of the Deschutes as Oregon Trout. So we've been around for 35 years. Oregon Trout merged with the Oregon Water Trust nearly a decade ago, and we became the Freshwater Trust.
Okay.
And so we're a river restoration organization. We're a nonprofit. We do large-scale activities that help restore river health, and we do that in Oregon, Idaho, and California. Although, given that our headquarters is here in Portland, this is where I would say most of our activities are centered here in Oregon, and it's only in the last couple of years that we've been branching out into other states as needed.
Well, lucky for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, river health, that, it's something I don't think a lot of people probably think about.
Yeah.
But as I went on the website, I was thinking, okay, yeah, river. I mean, everybody loves the rivers here, right? And we love to go fishing in them. We love, to play on them. But we also need them for so many things. We need our, water for our drinking water. We need them for our fish. We need them for the agriculture and industry, I guess,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So what kinds of things do you do?
Specifically, yeah, and I think what you struggled with is we struggle sometimes to tell our story because there are so many uses for water.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just like, well, of course rivers are important. But we need to bring that story to people, and as a nonprofit, we need people to care. And that's what we're getting better and better at, I think, is getting people to understand the specific things that impact rivers and fish habitats, and farmers and ranchers kind of throughout the state.
Right. And it's probably changed a lot, right?
It's changed
because
a ton.
of climate change.
Even pre-climate change, there's been some logging here in Oregon.
Right.
You've heard of the timber industry. There's been some logging. There's also been a lot of straightening rivers, taking boulders and logs out of rivers. This was especially in response to big floods, and everybody was like, "Man, we don't want all that water jumping out of the rivers and flooding our houses." So they started to channelize them just to get water to the ocean very quickly. Unfortunately, that was not actually good for flooding. It actually increased the rate of flooding, and it managed to destroy a ton of fish habitat in the process. And so we're undoing a lot of those things now by actively taking straightened rivers and remeandering them, adding new side channels that are what was there historically, and then adding a lot of complexity in the form of boulders and logs and things like that. In eastern Oregon, where you may notice it's a lot drier than the Willamette, we work a lot with agriculture to figure out areas where they don't need to use quite as much water as they have a right to. And so that's figuring out kind of water banking ideas, or figuring out how to lease water and keep it in stream at specific times of year, so that when fish are swimming up from the ocean and they get there in late summer, that there's water in the creek for them to spawn in. As opposed to, if we weren't there in a lot of places, everybody would pull their share, which they're legally allowed to do.
Right.
There wouldn't be a creek there. And so
and
that
then
would
the
have
fish would be gone,
that is tough for fish habitat.
Wow. So you work a lot with farmers, ranchers. You work a lot with a lot of people, actually. It sounds like just to figure out the best way to manage the water and to And it's funny about the taking the boulders out and the logs and things, because you probably, when that happened, they thought this was the best way to do it.
They did.
But when you start messing with nature, then there's a lot of things that happen, and it's sometimes hard to predict how that's going to affect it.
We are cleaning up a lot of things that our predecessors did, thinking that it was the best for both humans and fish, oftentimes.
Right.
But they're systems problems, and so when you start correcting something, you don't know all the other impacts that may happen.
Right.
That's happened all over the Northwest.
It's happened all over the world, actually. Let's bring in this animal to get rid of this insect or whatever.
It's a sad story. What we're hoping, though, and what we have focused a lot of our efforts on, is not only doing those activities, but investing a lot in the science, the data, the analytics, the research, so that we can better prioritize our efforts, and so that we can speak to people about how big the problem is and what meaningful action looks like. And we just find that science-based approach, that outcome-based approach, it makes discussions a lot less a matter of religion or strongly held belief, but rather like, well, here's what we're trying to fix. Here's how we're trying to fix it. We've come up with this money to help you. You work with us, and that, as you said, that gets us into a lot of interesting partnerships with folks that manage riparian areas, which is the stream banks, folks that manage agricultural lands, Forest Service, you name it. I mean, there's a lot of different major activities here in Oregon and throughout the West that have big impacts on rivers. We need to start using science to let everybody know what those impacts are and create visions for how those resources can get better.
There was a term, quantified conservation. Is that basically, that's it, right? What you're
we're trying to really make that term go big. We've been saying it for many years now. Quantified conservation.
So you are able to have measurable outcomes to what you're doing.
Yeah, and we're not perfect, but we're just trying to say, look,
thank God,
nobody is. The computing revolution has happened. We have massive amounts of data out there now. We have really amazing abilities to manage and process data. There's one of my colleagues. She's actually out in the Snake River in Idaho, but she has a tough iPad that is loaded up with a monitoring app that we developed for all of our staff to monitor our projects in the field. And then those data are put up to the cloud as soon as they're back into Wi-Fi service. Streamlines a bunch of things. And it also helps us prioritize where she goes, what they're doing. Those logs there are only there because we have been part of partnerships in the Sandy River Basin for over a decade now, We made restoration plans about what the next 10, 15 years need to look like, where we should prioritize things like that. Big log jams, fish hotels, and then we go and monitor.
Because you took those out and then the fish weren't there anymore,
The fish
right?
weren't there. The river was going too fast for fish to spawn.
Okay.
But that's been prioritized years prior, before we even started soliciting funds. And so that's a big part of how we prioritize our work and the work of our partners. I brought this out. This is our Uplift report, and it's a big foundational document for us each year to demonstrate the quantified benefits of what we do. There's a lot of good deed doers out there, but are they doing enough good deeds to actually undo some of the bad things on the landscape?
Right.
That's what we want to know, and science can tell us that.
You can plant so many trees, but if you're, what is that doing?
What is that doing?
And are they living? Are they staying?
The picture you saw of all the trees planted on the stream bank, we got funding for that by quantifying the temperature benefits of what those streams are going to block in terms of sunlight when they're fully grown.
Oh,
so
okay.
we say there's kilocalories of solar reduction in every tree we plant. It's not just about planting one; it's about what does that tree do over its life cycle.
It's a whole ecosystem.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you have 3 areas that you've really been working on. We actually have more than that, but I was particularly interested in the Sandy River Basin program because that one's really. That's right here. I mean,
absolutely.
That's from Mount Hood right down to this area in East County. You brought a video. Can we take a look at a little bit of that video?
I'd love to show that to you.
Okay, let's take a look at that now.
The Sandy River Basin starts at the very tip of Mount Hood, the very highest peak in Oregon, and tumbles down through Sandy and out towards Troutdale, where its mouth meets the Columbia River.
Following the '64 flood, to reduce flood risks, the Corps of Engineers and other government entities came into the Sandy River and diked the floodplains and took large wood and boulders out of the river. The thinking at the time was the quicker you could get water off the mountain, the less flood risk there'll be. That had detrimental impacts to flooding, and it also had really bad impacts to fish and fish habitat.
So the Sandy River Basin Partners formed in 1999.
They came together comprised about a dozen different groups with one shared objective, and that's to restore habitat to benefit salmon and steelhead. Today we were using a helicopter to deliver large wood.
The wood is what holds the rivers together. And without that wood, they start incising and they get more and more degraded.
One of the things people don't appreciate when they go out into rivers is how abundant would have been in the past and how important it is to fish and fish habitat.
It is the large wood that knits everything together to create those scour holes, to create that pool tail out, to slow down that river so that gravel can be deposited for those fish to be laying their eggs in.
Being done with Still Creek is a big deal because it confirms that we're on the right track. It is something that provides momentum to continue work in the Sandy Basin.
Some amazing stuff going on. So the Sandy River Basin program, and then you also have another one, there's the Rogue River Restoration Program.
Yeah.
What do you want us to know about those programs?
Yeah, the Sandy, as you just saw, it's a really special place coming off the flanks of Mount Hood there. It's Portland's backyard.
Right.
We've been there with the Sandy River Basin Partners for almost a decade now. And we touched on this already. This was one of the key places in the Columbia River, one of the tributaries that got channelized after the 1964 flood.
Right.
And really bad for fish. And so with the partners, we charted out a course and we've been plugging away. And every year between $500,000 and $1 million worth of work goes into the Sandy River with you know.
And you've seen
huge returns. Yeah, we over the last 8 years, I think we've had 350% returns of anadromous fish, which is pretty great.
Good, yeah.
And you look at the other tributaries in the Columbia, and they're still declining.
Yeah,
and so
yeah,
this is
you
one
hear
of the
about it
bright
all the
spots.
time.
Yeah.
There's some fish are gone. Yeah.
And so that's great there. The Sandy, you know, is pretty special because it's surrounded by national forest land. The Rogue has a lot more agriculture, and so we've been down in the Rogue since 2012. We started with a big partnership with the city of Medford, and that was where we were quantifying the temperature benefits of trees.
Yeah.
Medford was discharging slightly warm water into the Rogue River at a time of year that wasn't great for fish spawning, but it was pretty small impact versus the whole river being too warm because all the trees have been cut down on the banks of the river.
Oh.
And so we went in, helped them devise a plan where they would more than offset their impact by going out and revegetating those stream banks. We've been their partner to do that since 2012. We just signed a contract with the city of Ashland to also do that in Bear Creek and in and around Ashland. And we've also been doing a program with the Bureau of Reclamation that is both stream bank replanting but also large wood. And so it's almost $10 million in about 6 years worth of work that we've put into the Rogue with a bunch of partners down there, watershed councils, irrigation districts, et cetera, getting everybody leaning in, working directly with landowners and getting everybody to appreciate what it's going to take, the scale, the need to help restore the Rogue.
It's a huge problem and it's a huge undertaking. But
Absolutely.
It sounds like you got it. You got to handle it.
We're trying to help.
We're almost out of time, so I want to ask you real quick. You have a fundraiser coming up called Immerse, and that's on March 7th.
Yeah.
So what will people find at this? This is at Castaway. That's in Northwest Portland, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up, and I certainly would love if some of your viewers came.
Yeah.
It's a big tent. We love people who love rivers. As you said, there's a lot of people in Portland that do. Immerse is, we kind of have a theme every year. This one, we're trying to get people to where the action is. And so we have a 3D exhibit where we've taken 360-degree video at some of these sites as the logs are getting flown in by helicopter, as the fish are going by.
It's kind of like virtual reality.
It's virtual reality, yeah. And so the people will be able to go put on the goggles, see what it looks like on an active restoration site. And of course, there'll be it's a fun fundraiser as well. So there'll be plenty of cocktails, hors d'oeuvres, some interesting exhibits, and we're just trying to bring people into what it takes to fix a river at a scale that matters. And it should be 400 or 500 people. We get a pretty big crowd.
Good.
It's a lively one. We hope that you come and see us on March 7th at Castaway.
Wonderful. We'll have some more information on the screen about that. So we are out of time. I appreciate, Alex, you coming today and sharing with us about the Freshwater Trust. And good luck. You've got your work cut out for you, but you're doing good stuff.
It's good, fun work. Thanks for having us on,
Yeah,
Monica.
you bet. Yeah. Thanks for watching Community Hotline. Check out their website. It's a very good website. You also, maybe you can get access to the Uplift here. This has got all the report on everything they've been doing this last year. So it's impressive work. Do come and join us also next week on Community Hotline to find out more about what's going on in your community. I'm Monica Weitzel. Good night.
Community Hotline is made possible with generous support by Gresham Ford, the dealer with a heart. The Contribute to the Community program provides the opportunity for the Gresham Ford team to make a positive impact, serving their customers and helping people across the community. The Outlook, serving the residents of East Multnomah County for more than 100 years. The region's #1 source for information, The Outlook provides readers with intensely local coverage of the issues and people that impact our lives and community. The Mountain Hood Cable Regulatory Commission, advocating on behalf of the public interest on communications policy issues at the local, state, and federal levels.
And by Stamp Connection and BeFit Gyms. A very special thanks to all the sponsors who help make our programming possible.